Namaste, divine beings. This question, why do those on the spiritual path face the challenges of money, has been a personal experience of mine starting 27 years ago after my death experience of awakening, initiation. Prior to this, I was running a business that stretched over 4 countries, and in terms of business, we were expanding. And then after my wake-up experience, there was a realization in me that there was a higher purpose, and my intent was not to survive but to focus within to find that higher purpose. And then life came crunching down in all its realities when I began my path into light. At this time, as I was journeying into light, into myself, meditating more, around me there was a chaos that today I know was so much a blessing in disguise. But going back to those days, there were different levels of emotional pain that I was going through that essentially was reckoning with poverty. I still remember the time when my Siddha Guruji Rajasamy told me, hey, we are going up the mountains, and there are many there who would love to have a blanket. Can you pick up 210 such blankets? And I realized that was what my guru told me, and I did not have the money. Now, my grandfather was an industrialist, and I was supposed to be enormously wealthy, but poverty had struck me in a different dimension where my uncles had taken over everything, stolen everything from my father. And there was so much pain, pains and resentments I was carrying. I thought about how I was going to get those blankets, and I didn't have the money. Ultimately, while meditating, I felt my guru tell me, go to your uncles and ask them for the money, which I felt was, felt all against me. And yet I went to my uncles and asked them for the money for the blanket. They gave me the money. I got the blankets. I go up the pilgrimage. I go up the mountain. And then Rajasamy called me aside and says, I know the pains you went through to get those blankets. Didn't you go to your uncles? I said, yes, I did. How did you know that? He said, yes, I could feel your pains. You were carrying a lot of resentment. And the moment you are able to forgive and ask them for help, you diminish their karma too in the process. But more important, you diminished your karmic imprints in the process. Now, you will feel the greater light of grace flowing through you to ask someone for helping you do good is a dharma by itself. Should they refuse, they have taken your karma. Should they give, they have helped with generating more dharma. Now, most of us in the spiritual path need realize that we have woken up as spirit to have this human experience. And whatever we know is not just of this lifetime, it is all the many lifetimes of the past that we have woken up, and we have been traveling through many lifetimes, and all that now has come to guide us and serve us as an unknowing. Now, I remember the time when I would climb up the mountain to go be with Guru Ayya. He would not allow you inside, but I could sit outside. But one of the things I would take for him was camphor, a lot of camphor, so he could burn through at night. And he was meditating for 18 years without moving. And he was in a state of sleepless sleep, constantly awake. And that camphor would help him on and on and on, celebrate that light. And that's when a master came and told me, he asked me, how did you have this idea to take camphor and utilize it through the night and stay up all night long meditating? And he would tell me, this is your past birth playing its important part in your guidance. And this is what each one of us have in our spiritual journey. Our past birth. Now, in our past birth, no matter what, we could have been trapped into some religion. I would say trapped into religion, because most religions have the vows of poverty, celibacy and abstinence. Nearly all religions across the globe. And if we were born, if we had been awake on a spiritual seeking God, we would have definitely been under some religion in some of the lifetimes. And in each of these lives, we inherited, or rather created for ourselves, the vow of poverty. And the second, the moment we have created a vow of celibacy and abstinence, we have effectively cut off the root chakra, the Mooladhara, from where wealth could be generated. The physical wealth. There is the third dimension of poverty that afflicts us. When we have money and we do not utilize it to serve others, there is an energy being generated. This lifetime after lifetime after lifetime is that energy field that we are with. And then comes another dimension, which is our ancestors. I would say we have evolved 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 years back. For sure. Our ancestors' consciousness was much smaller than what ours is today. In other words, we have grown as humanity, expanding our consciousness over the many generations. But yet we carry the baggage of our ancestors' karma. When we flip it to Dharma, when we flip the curse to blessings, now we are unfolding for ourselves the light of source that is truly abundant. And then is the fourth dimension, which is the mindset itself. When we talk about karma as a mindset, it is very much as tying a rope around a little baby elephant's leg. And when the elephant grows up, it still thinks it cannot break away and go. And that is the mindset of karma that develops in us when we are limited. This could be from when we are a child listening to our parents. This could be with the collective karma of all around. And then is relating back to my story about my uncles, all that resentment that we have stored within, itself blocks us. Anger, pains of jealousy, pains of being let down, trauma, all of this holds us back. And then is relationships. Every relationship could either lift us or bring us down. Now, today, let's explore these limits and let's resolve to dissolve away all the limits so the true essence of light that is abundant in all its forms shines through us. And in the abundance that is so naturally there for each of us, allow that to flow, to be at the receiving end of grace so we can uplift ourselves and humanity. The first is the affirmation to negate all the poverty vows we have taken of our past births. Let's say it aloud with me. I am no longer tied to the vows of poverty and limits I had placed on myself in this birth and all my previous births. Knowingly, unknowingly, subconsciously, or consciously, if I had undertaken any of those vows, let those vows be terminated now. I am liberated. I am free. I am in all abundance of source grace, free of poverty. I am entitled to the abundances of who I am, my light, and the greater goodness of light. Next, let's dissolve away the limitations of the root chakra. When the root chakra is awake, abundance flows naturally. When we climb up above the navel, when we decide to go beyond as spirit, now we do not care anymore. We are not paying attention to the human needs, the human primary requirements. And where attention is not, there is no reality. The root chakra holds The grace of allowing material and spiritual wealth, especially material wealth, to flow. In every breath, take a deep inhale from the roots. And as you take a deep inhale from the roots, feel all the problems that is limiting us. Financial worries, of course. Any other problem that is limiting us in any other field. And make an offering to Source. Allow Source to crack it. Surrender that problem to Source. Surrender that challenge to Source. And every breath, know you are Source connecting from Source. You are connecting breath from Source. And as we exhale, exhale from above the crown to God, to Source. The moment we are connecting every breath to Source, God, we are activating the vortex of light that essentially is negating a karmic imprints that is flowing along. We are also cracking the limitations placed by our not being present at the root chakra. So come into the root chakra. For a moment, feel every cell in the body. Feel the beingness of whom we are. Feel the sensuality of every cell in the body. Go down to the root chakra to Ganapati. If you have a mantra of Ganapati, recite the mantra. Every inhale, hold the breath and feel the roots and feel the root fires. And exhale. When we are activating the root chakra by inhaling from the roots consciously, retaining the roots by thought, and then exhaling slowly to the crown chakra, our breath is optimizing our thought. One of the first prayer to God, Source, is, please God, give me the right thought. With the right thought, everything works reality. The thought starting from the roots of the breath all the way to the exhale of each breath is the sheer light we are aligning into our lives. Expand whom we are. Expand our consciousness. The limits of our circumstances is easily dissolved away when we are able to think outside the box. We limit ourselves by working exclusively with the mind and its memory bank, alongside with its anxieties and alongside with all of the ups and downs of thinking and thought and mind. So, the moment we realize we are the spirit, breath, beyond the mind, now our mind is truly meditating at all times. We are constantly expanding consciousness. And there is the knowing over here. And that is realities are totally hinged into the law of karma and dharma. What you do is the results. What we think is the energies behind thought and behind realities. And when we are goodness, this goodness ripples into our lives too. So how we think definitely transforms what reality is. And all of this is, where in consciousness are we? If we are embedded in the human layers of limitations, we are going to be reacting to every situation. The moment we have risen up to being the spirit, now we are gliding free of the limits placed on us by way of emotions, by way of thinking, by way of memory, and now we have access to wisdom, access to knowing. We know, but through energy fields. When we are working or putting our mind into focus, we are bringing together the greater mind into the mind. In other words, we are aligning our wisdom with intellect. When we have aligned wisdom to intellect, now we understand that a prayer of ours, when a prayer of ours to Lord Vishnu is, sustain me, nourish me, let me be abundant. This is the awake mind now activating itself as in all its forms of abundance in our realities. The next dimension of our understanding the vastness of whom we are so we can be in abundance is worthiness. Once again, karma is very much like the data that we are carrying as baggage. And this karmic limit placed on us is very much from the scales of saying I am not worthy, or within us not willing to receive, not being able to receive. Here, every breath, when we say I am, I am, I am, know you are the universal vast self. And within ourselves contains not only the entirety of all the stars and the solar system and planet Earth and all of humanity and all of the collective energies of humanity, but also it is the vast self, the supreme self that we are, unlimited by any karmic limits or the mind's limits. Most important is the affirmation, I am worthy, I am ready to receive, I am grace, I am abundance, I am Dharma. Acknowledge that as spirit, as in our existence now, we are each the form of Dharma. We have come to uplift ourselves and all of humanity. When we say we are Dharma, we know the sacred joys of abundance in its overflow. We constantly awaken grace in all that we do. The next is imagination itself. I would rather say the knowing. Know that we are, when awake, we are free from the imprisonment of the mind, body, and circumstance. We are free beings. So when we are free in being able to attain what we wish for, we also know that We can generate these energies by the very process of thought. In our mind, cultivate the joys of being happy by giving, by doing Dharma. Start with a sacred prayer before your food every day. See, if you feed the hungry, it is considered to be one of the highest form of Dharma, because feeding the hungry is Annamaya Kosha, that is the body form, health, physical existence is food. When you feed another, you are quenching that fire in that being, and there is the blessings that we receive in the form of grace. So all sages across Asia would emphasize feed the hungry. Feed. That's why in any marriage festival or any festival, food is given, so that energy is invoked. So in the prayer of food is invoke all the beings to partake in the food. Feed all the beings just by thought, the food before we eat. The very thought of feeding the hungry before eating triggers the energies of abundance we are giving. Just imagine ourselves giving. Just set our mind to the states of joy and in imagining how much we can give and give and give and give. Imagine yourself as a billionaire doing it. Constantly imagine that. Now we are beginning to see that reality happen in our lives. Imagine we had billions of dollars, and we were constantly simply wanting to give and give and give, and it's like a fantasy. Build a fantasy of giving. Now we are tapping into the energy flows. Spiritual beings, conscious beings need to have all the abundances, because this abundance serves the greater goodness of humanity. When we are awake, we know money is energy. The initial moment of us seeking God is, hey God, I let go of everything else to be with you. That's the sannyasi, letting go. Poverty, consciousness. But once we've attained God, once we've attained understanding that divine self is us within awake, once we know we are awake, now we would say, I am the wealth, I am everything, the world is mine. Now, as the inner sun, as the sun awake, every planet around us goes around, every reality around us goes around as planets. Everything that we've ever desired, everything that we've ever wanted now begins to move around us. Bring focus. One of the things I have known for myself personally is, I have never wanted to count my money. I had never wanted to look at my finances. And this is the normal tendency of anyone in the spiritual path. And where attention is not, there is nothing. So bring attention. Look, even if it feels whatever. Look, bring awareness into your personal finances. And even as you're bringing awareness into your personal finances, bless money as energy. Express gratefulness. Express thankfulness. Express gratitude for everything that you are. Gratitude of the past. Gratitude for being the spirit. Gratitude for being in a place where we have the inflow of energies, and the inflows of energies of money, inflows of energy of abundances in all its forms. A prayer of gratitude. Another dimension which is very vital is we in the spiritual path are super creative because we are the spirit operating the human. When we say we are super creative, we are now in a higher vibrancy states, and through the human we are bringing focus. So when we are artists or whatever we do, our mind is in that singular focus. And in that singular focus, everything else in our lives has not been paid attention to. So, be aware of time. Time is so important as the only asset we can ever have, being alive. Look at time, compartmentalize time, set priorities in time, set time for creativity, but set time for planning. Ensure that we have all the facets of our wheels in place in terms of actual realities we want to manifest. Compartmentalization of what we are to do reflects back to Leonardo da Vinci when he had to submit his bio to the Countess of Turin. He mentions 17 or 18 things he is good at. His art features the 7th or 8th, and that also doesn't mention it clearly as art. Yet today we know him as the greatest artist, one of the greatest artists that ever lived. But he had compartmentalized himself. And that is what we spiritual beings are highly capable of doing, because when we are spiritual, the I has become to the we, and the we is the many beings of light now being our presence. So, in realities of creation, there is the good, bad and ugly in terms of what we need to do in terms of our work. There is this dimension of having to pay taxes, which is not absolutely inspiring. But at the same time, there are so many other dimensions of responsibilities, and at the same time, we want to make sure we are simply having states of joy doing whatever we are doing. So when you're placing your work, placing your thoughts of what needs to be done, place it in such a way that there's an orchestra going on, there's music being created, and how you place it. Everything is a note. Every dimension of a work has an energy field. If you can place that well within the realms of time planning, you're allowing that infinity of spirituality, which is timelessness, to orchestrate with time and create the music of heavens in our life. Within all of this is the we. The we is all the masters, all the beings of light. They all are waiting for the call from each of us to be a part of us. Invoke Christ, invoke all the gurus, invoke all the light, the more the merrier. And in every presence, know that we are the sum total of all the masters in the now. And in the now is time itself, and within time, breath. With this, let every conscious being be in the grace of absolute abundance. And in this abundance, know 3 important dimensions. The first is breath itself. No breath from source to source. No time as that we have embedded with a timelessness. And the third, that a higher self is naturally abundant, the spirit having the human experience. Dissolve away all the limits of the human. Dissolve away limits of the mind, body and circumstances to the light of spirit. With the grace light of beingness, now allow for our abundant grace to simply flow in oneness, grace, divine beings. May each of us be the emperors of time. May each of us be the leaders of humanity. May each of us be the form of Dharma, uplifting ourselves and all of humanity. Om Namah Shivaya. Grateful for the moments we shared together. To learn more or to connect with Nandhiji, email us awake@nandhi.com, NANDHI.com, or visit our website nandhiji.com, NANDHIJI.com. In grace and blessings as one. Om Namah Shivaya.